Puffin is one of the newest heroes from the high seas, and if you take nothing else away from this video, heed my warning. Puffin is going to be very good at Nationals next weekend. US Nationals is next weekend, and I'm expecting Puffin to be one of the best decks in the room. She is very good at the mid-range plan, she's very aggressive when she needs to be, and she just gets to play all of the powerful Pirate and Mechanologist cards. Look out for Puffin. Now, with that being said, Cindra versus Puffin is a very interesting matchup because Cindra does a very good job if we're able to take tempo as Cindra at just taking multiple cards out of Puffin's hand. Puffin doesn't have a lot of great equipment. She gets to play like the new Tinker arm piece. She gets to play the unicycle, but a lot of people are on Crown of Dominion, and I just don't think that her equipment suite is set up to block Mask Momentum that well. And as Cindra, with cards like Flick Knives and Blood Runs Deep, we're really able to push a lot of damage and try to strip a lot of cards. So our opponent's forced into making decisions like give me Mask Momentum or continue to block and not really do anything on their turn. Either way, it's kind of a win-win for us because the less they're doing on their turn, the better off we're going to be. With that in mind, there are some cards that we need to watch out for. The Cloud Skiff, I think, is a 1-for-5 that gets go again. There's the Palantir Aeronaut that can destroy equipment, and it forces us to block with equipment if they use the thrice per turn instant, which is very powerful. And then they also have the Command and Conquer, but from the new set, the CNC SEA, as I think a lot of people are calling it. That card looks to be very good and very powerful in this deck, so look for Puffin to be pretty good. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I hope you enjoy the match. All right, we're playing against Puffin. We are going second. Our opponent chose to go first. I imagine so that they can try to set up, put some cogs into play, maybe try to draw some cards or do some things here. It's not a bad setup for them, honestly. Not a bad setup for them. So it's going to be Oath of Loyalty for 4 go again. We have a pretty good hand to try and pressure Mask here and really making things awkward for our opponent. The one thing that Puffin does better than most Mechanologist decks is that you're able to really utilize generic cards, or non-Mechanologist cards, I should say. You're really able to utilize cards like Command and Conquer, cards like Sink Below, Shelter the Storm. So we have to be a little bit more careful with how our opponent tries to play some of this stuff out. We're going to banish the Demonstrate Devotion, and then I guess we're just going to go ahead and play it here. I mean, this is on-hit Mask, so I'm pretty interested in just trying to force cards here. Our opponent is very, very quickly taking 7 damage. Ooh, okay. I mean, I'm a little surprised they're willing to block with the Tinker Rings this fast. Huh, interesting. They create a golden cog that they're not going to crank. They pass on the Galvanize. We're going to flick one of our daggers here, which is going to put our opponent down to 32. We're not going to activate Vest. And then we're going to throw Blood Runs Deep, which is 2. We get to flick our last dagger. We're not able to utilize this to keep the Chain Link alive for something else. When you have a 5-card hand, you can throw Blood Runs Deep as the 4th card and get a lot of value, but I don't think that's really the case here. So our opponent just taking 9 damage and then giving us 2 cards. Now, depending on what their 2-card hand is, this is a very good turn cycle for us. It lines up very well, and we get to play a lot of offense here. Also, this hand is absolutely bonkers, so if they don't hit us with something crazy, I will just be saying no blocks and playing all offense here. Backup Protocol Red feels insane in Puffin. This card is going to be an auto 3 of, in my opinion, in this deck. I think this card is crazy. By the way, if this ends up making it to YouTube and you're watching this later, Puffin is insane. Please do not sleep on this deck. You will regret it. When this hits a hero, you may tap a cog you control. If you do, create a golden cog token. Okay, yeah, this is just damage. This is just damage. This is fine. So they're going to give it +2 because it's not +1 or go again. This is just 8. So this is going to be 8. And then I guess they're going to tap a golden cog to make another one because they don't have to crank it. They could crank it to gain an action point, actually. So I guess this is on hit go again because you can crank the cog to do something else with it, which is pretty cool. It also just lets them kind of set up for next turn to have an extra cog in play, which I think is pretty powerful. Drawing into the Spreading Flames here, we're just gonna all gas, no brakes. Our opponent has already given up a piece of equipment to try to stop Mask last turn. It is worth noting that if we had drawn off Mask, we would have Throw Dagger in our arsenal, which is a little weird. Throw Dagger in Arsenal, like Throw Dagger is a very, very powerful card. It is the best blue in the deck in my opinion, but it can also be a little like clunky at times. There can be times when like having this in Arsenal is a little weird. Oath of Loyalty can make Throw Dagger clunky. We're just going to go ahead and utilize this so we don't have to worry about it the rest of the turn cycle. Although it's probably technically better to wait until we flick because we want to make sure that we're trying to like conceal information here. But there are some turns and cards that can make Throw Dagger feel a little clunky at times. Now, our opponent does not have an arsenal, so the breaking point is just threatening Mask here, and it's also not going to be for... It's also not going to be for 6, it's just going to be for 5. So they could, like, defense reaction and unicycle it here to still keep a card in their hand. We're not going to utilize the chess piece, and then breaking point for 5, which is really solid. We were 1 chain link away, but with on a 4-card hand, it's pretty tough to get to 6 chain links on a 4-card hand. It can be done like pretty handedly, but it's just not super easy to do. I will go ahead and activate Cindra. I should probably wait here actually, because let's see what we draw off Mask. Oh man, this is exactly why you wait for Cindra. This is exactly why you wait for Cindra. Because I'm not going to Arsenal this. This is a terrible thing to Arsenal. I guess I could Snaps to give this go again here in the damage step and then play Warmonger's Diplomacy. No, actually, you know what? I am going to Arsenal this. I'm okay with ending my turn on this. I am okay with trying to shut them out of a hand next turn. I am very okay with this, actually. We're going to see if they have another cog to crank. They have the Turbine, which gives something +3. They can automatically attack even if they don't draw into something they really want to be doing. They can attack with a Spitfire here. So looks like they drew something they want to play, though. Okay, yeah, I mean, this is pretty good. So this is for 8. It's basically going to be 10, and then they're going to create another cog token. Is there anything I want to block with here? So I think this is Crack the Fealty for Art of the Dragonblood, Spreading Flames, Rising Resentment, into play Warmonger's Diplomacy, Arsenal this, which seems like a pretty good turn overall. Like, I don't think it's that bad. We could just, like, block a bunch and try to, like, go and just... We could block 6, or I'm sorry, block 8, play Warmonger's Diplomacy, Arsenal, Spreading Flames, but I don't think that's a very good turn. This is a matchup where we are looking to race through and through because our opponent is a very, very good offensive deck, and they play the mid-rangey game very well. So the more 5-card hands we can get into, the more damage we can push, the better off we're going to be, because we want to force our opponent to play 2-card hands and then utilize cards like Warmonger's Diplomacy to put them in a weird spot. Although, admittedly, they can choose War and then just do a whole bunch of, like, you know, the cog, like, twice per turn instant kind of stuff. I'm going to tell my opponent to refresh the page here, because I think we just need a refresh. I think I thought about it for so long that, like, Talishar is lagging a little bit. They could also be, like, just, like, looking at their phone or doing anything. Like, who knows? We don't know our opponent's life. Well, while we're waiting, who knows any good jokes? Yeah, I'm just kidding. Oh, I'm gonna refresh again. I don't know. I have to say, like, that's one thing that I think it does kind of drive me crazy, to be honest. I hate waiting on people on Talishar. Like, I can't stand that kind of stuff. But, I mean, people's lives are happening. Oh, they said sorry, internet. Yeah, so their internet's just lagging, which, I mean, to be honest, like, oh, they said they were a big fan of the channel. That's very nice of them. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like I hate waiting on people when we're doing, like when I'm playing Talishar. I hate it when people take forever. It drives me crazy. And then they get to attack for 3. It's a pretty good turn overall. Yeah, we're just gonna take 3. And even though I do hate waiting on people on Talishar, like, you know, it's cards. Like it's life. Like it's just cards. It's not the end of the world. So we're gonna go Art of the Dragonblood for 3 go again. Or I'm sorry, 4 go again. I was like, I imagine you're blocking with something else if you're blocking with Unicycle here. And then it's gonna be Spreading Flames. They're blocking very early on in the turn here. I almost feel like this isn't going to be that good. I'm a little worried that Warmongers is not going to be that good on this turn cycle. It looks like it's not, but I think I just have to clear this out of my arsenal. I don't think I have a better choice here than to just clear this out of my arsenal. I'm not going to take a counter up on Vest. I am going to activate Cindra. Last turn drawing the Warmongers, we got to see why it was awkward to activate Cindra before you draw off Mask of Momentum. You should always wait. You should always wait, and blues are a great example of why. They choose War. We're also going to choose War. And then I'm just going to Arsenal and pass. Okay. A little bit of an interesting hand here. So I think we're going to pitch to Dagger, and then we're going to go hot on their heels into Brand with Cinderclaw, Art of the Dragonfire from Arsenal. And then if there's a world where Mask is still alive, if we play the next one, I will just go ahead and crack the boots here. I think it's worth. I'm not going to gain a resource. I'm going to wait until the flick. We talked earlier, or I might have talked earlier, about concealing information and using Vest like early on in the turn versus waiting. And I think it's better to wait. So I don't think I want to flick here, as weird as that sounds. Like, I don't think I want to flick to keep the chain link alive. I think we're just going to make this play here. So we're going to go Brand. We do have to flick here regardless. We need the resource. So this is a very good situation for us to just utilize. We are going to gain a resource. Because this is Draconic, it is a natty 1 for 7. Ooh, I could kill this. Nah, let's go after them. I think we want to get aggressive. Killing the Polycrank is not a bad play. Maybe it's correct. Actually, you know what? Let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. Do you guys think we should kill the Polycranker right there with the Art of the Dragonfire? Or is going after them okay? I don't know. It's an interesting turn. I think we're supposed to hit the Kranka now that I'm thinking about it, because they haven't utilized it so far. We're also in a situation now where... Ooh, okay, so they're going to go down to 11, and then we're going to activate Cindra, and we're going to Arsenal Art of the Dragonfire. If I wanted to utilize the go again off the instant, I would have had to have used the resource from the dagger to start. Holy cow, this hand is good. This hand's very good. Man, so if we'd killed the Kranko last turn, we would have been able to, like, basically shut their turn down. That would have been a really good play. That would have been awesome. Let's see. Create a golden cog token and put 2 steam counters on it. Okay. We're just going to throw one of the daggers at the Kranka here. Just go ahead and kill it. Ooh. So they're going to force me to defend with an equipment. And then they actually don't have 3 cogs in play. So they can pump this up to... Okay, they're going to use the unicycle here, which is fine, because that means it gives them the ability to destroy my flight path here. So we're going to take 9 down to 10. And now it's our turn. Leading on Oath of Loyalty. I'm not going to attack them. We're just going to go ahead and hit the ally here. One thing that I really like about this is that we can do a pretty good job of setting up Mask this turn. They were pretty quick to just block with a couple of cards there. They take the dagger down to 10. We are not going to utilize the Vest. This dagger is going to hit their ally, which means technically because of Mask of Momentum, we have hit. So we do have the option. My opponent just said my bird. That's funny. Then it's going to be Burning Blade Dance for 3. On hit, we flick a dagger and Mask of Momentum. And then we get to utilize the Blood Runs Deep. I would have really liked to have seen a way to have generated a fealty token this turn. We're not going to utilize the Blood Splattered Vest here. There's no reason to. Gonna refresh here. Yep, it is me. I'm the drama. And then it's going to be Blood Runs Deep. We flick a dagger. We do not utilize this. And now we're in a situation where this is on hit mask, which they're going to give to us. Ooh, what a brick. What a brick. Ugh. I mean, I guess we'll just go ahead and throw this dagger. Just get the extra point here. It does feel bad, but it is what it is. Man, Mask has not been good to us this game. One of them was like a severe misplay on my part, but this hand's pretty good. We can sink below the shelter. We can also just play both the sink and the shelter this turn if we need to. I'm also pretty willing to just give up Mask here. Our opponent's at 5. We're never getting Mask again. They're going to draw off Puffin's effect, and their next attack has +3. I mean, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good turn cycle for them. They picked Go again. Okay, we're going to play the defense reaction here. I'm going to keep the sink because... Gotcha. Okay, so they're just going to come in for 3. I'm going to take 3 down to 5, and we're going to Arsenal the sink below here. So this is going to be Brand for 3 Go again, into Brand for 3 Go again, flick the dagger, utilize the vest, throw this for 7. There is no match to keep alive, so there's no reason for me to be worried about flicking in specific spots other than to make sure that I have the resource for my chest piece. We are going to utilize the dagger and the chest to gain our resource here, which is exactly what we want. Art of the Dragonfire puts our opponent down to 2, and then this is 5. Okay, our opponent can go to 1 here, which is bold. But to be fair, if they leave us with 4 cards in hand, they're just dead anyway. Yeah, this is... I think we're in a pretty good spot right here. Oh, our opponent's thinking about how they want to block. I mean, going to 1 is probably your only option at this point. Like, they're probably forced to go to 1 so that they can keep a card in hand. Because if they block with both cards and then have nothing to do to, like, put me in an awkward spot, I'm just going to, like, I'm just going to win next turn no matter what, pretty much. So they play Backup Protocol. They crank Backup Protocol. Okay. They're going to turn a yellow card upside down, which I assume they have some number of. Then they're going to draw. They're going to activate Puffin to destroy the gold they made, make a cog, crank it, and draw a card. If it's blue, they can get back the 1 for 5. Or Sky Skimmer. So I'm going to say no blocks. They're going to activate for +1, I assume. Yep. And then we're going to play Sink Below, put the Sink Below on the bottom, and our turn is insane. Our turn is very, very powerful here. We're going to lead on the dagger here. Having Rake over the coals is like just kind of icing on the cake, to be honest. We'll play the Rake. I know we're not leaking any damage here, but we'll just go ahead and play it. And then it's going to be 2. I am going to go ahead and flick here because if our opponent has it, they have it. If they don't, we win the game on the spot. So we do end up winning the game. We'll say good game to our opponent. Ultimately, we were just able to threaten a lot of damage, even though I made a mistake with the Warmonger's Diplomacy and we kind of bricked on the Shelter the Storm off the top of Mask and Momentum. Mask wasn't great to us this game, but with a little bit tighter play, it'll look a little bit better. There are 3 big takeaways from this game that I want to point out to you. On turn 2, I should have waited to activate Cindra's hero ability after I drew off of Mask and Momentum. There was no reason for me to do it beforehand, and I ended up drawing into a Warmonger's Diplomacy that set an arsenal, and it ended up being okay, but not really great. But if I had waited, I could have broken the combat chain, pitched the blue to Cindra, and then I wouldn't have had an arsenal, but I also wouldn't have had this weird clunky card that I needed to clear out later in the game. So it's just a really good, remember, stay alert that you need to wait until after Mask of Momentum to make sure that you're not drawing into any weird clunky cards that you need to pitch away. On turn 4, I could have actually thrown the Art of the Dragonfire as a Chain Ender. Now, it wouldn't have been Draconic, but because I sequenced the turn wrong, it was really weird. I could have utilized all 3 counters on the Blood Splattered Vest and gotten rid of it that turn if when the first stagger hit, I would have said yes and taken a resource. This would have enabled me to throw the Art of the Dragonfire for 7 damage, and then I would have been able to use my Dragonscaler Flight Path as snaps to give this go again so that I could throw the Art of the Dragonfire again. Now, it wouldn't have been Draconic, but it still would have been a good Chain Ender. It pushes Mask of Momentum, and I'm also setting myself up to where if they don't block this, I get an Arsenal anyway, which would have been really, really powerful. But the way the whole turn worked out, I missequenced it, and I wasn't able to maximize my efficiency that turn cycle. The last thing that I want to talk about here is really how well Puffin played this mid-rangey game against me. I ended up going second, so I had tempo most of the game, and I was forcing multiple cards out of Puffin's hand every single turn. But it's really worth noting that they were blocking with a couple of cards every turn, sometimes 3, and they were playing this mid-range game very well. Life totals were close, down to the wire. They were able to throw 8 to 10 at me on most of the turn cycles, drawing some cards using their hero ability. So Puffin really highlighted how well she can play the mid-range game and that she's going to be a real contender in this meta. Guys, if you see anything else you think I missed, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear about it. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy, guys.